could dress me up so good. You're the glitter in the darkness of my world. Just tell me what to do. I'll fall right into you. Going under 'cause the spell. Just say the word. I feel your love. Boom, clap, the sound in my heart. The beat goes on and on and on and on. And boom, clap, you make me feel good. Come on to me, come on to me now. Boom, clap, the sound in my heart. The beat goes on and on and on and on. And boom, clap, you make me feel good. Come on to me now. You are the light and I will follow. You let me lose my shadow. You are the sun, a glowing halo, and you keep burning me up with all your love. Boom, clap, the sound in my heart. The beat goes on and on and on and on. And boom, clap, you make me feel good. Come on to me now. Boom, clap, the sound in my heart. The beat goes on and on and on and on. And boom, clap, you make me feel good. Come on to me now. Boom, clap, the sound in my heart. The beat goes on and on and on and on. And boom, clap, you make me feel good. Come on to me now. Boom, clap, the sound in my heart. The beat goes on and on and on and on. And boom, clap, you make me feel good. Come on to me now.
I had a dream so big and loud. I jumped so high, I touched the clouds. Whoa, oh, 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 oh. I stretched my hands out to the sky. We danced with monsters through the night. Whoa, oh, 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 oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage event marketer, content director, Jessica Heasley.
Hello. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. And welcome once again to the 15th Annual Experiential Marketing Summit. We're so happy to have you here with us. I've got a short list of housekeeping announcements before we move on and get to our keynote. And by short, I mean about 25 items long. But bear with me, we're going to get through it together. We wanted to encourage you to download the event app created by Cvent and Crowd Compass if you haven't done so already. We know this is a big venue. We have a lot going on at the show this year, so it's a great way to navigate the show, to connect with fellow attendees, and just to stay on top of what's going on. Right after lunch and back by popular demand this year is our speed briefings. They're similar to 20-minute TED Talks, where there will be two 20-minute sessions back to back. You can catch one and then run across the hall and catch another one and fill your brain with more information. We have a couple of great events going on in the exhibit hall today. We're going to have a refreshment break at 2:30 and happy hour kicks off at 5 p.m., both sponsored by VDA Productions. Be sure to stop by the Highmark Hub in the exhibit hall. There will be free manicures. Our Iron Chef challenges continue today, as do the mixologist classes during the happy hour at 5 o'clock. We also have guided product tours in the exhibit hall leaving from the hub. And you want to be sure to check out our vintage board game lounges located in the far corners of the exhibit hall. I think the high score to beat on Simon is 13, but I'm not sure, so let me know if you can do better than that. And for the first time, we have an Event Industry Gives Back charity event that takes place from 4:15 to 5:15 in this room. And attendees will be putting together Wellness Bag for veterans. This event is sponsored and co-produced with our friends at Sparks. It's going to be terrific. We're excited for you to check that out. If you're still standing in the morning, we have another Wake Up 5K run that kicks off at 6:30. There's no cost to join. It's sponsored by our friends at Production Plus. You just need to stop by registration and let them know that you're going to join the group in the morning. All right. So as you can imagine, creating an event for more than 2,000 professional event marketers every year over the past 15 years has been a pretty intimidating challenge. Luckily, we have all of the incredible work that you all do to help inspire us year after year. We're grateful to have with us today, sponsoring this afternoon's keynote, one of these sources of constant inspiration. They're our friends of 15 years and hands down, one of the most creative and competent shops in the business. A big thank you to Proscenium for your support and for all of the fun. We're gonna watch a quick world premiere video and then we'll invite our friend Chuck Santoro up to say a few words. Let's take a look.
First, it was time to take a look at the finances. Then, it was time to get the project rolling. Then, it was time to do some work. Then, it was time for a cold one. Then, it was time to tell her the room was ready. Finally, the perfect room for my baby. Ta-da!
When we talked about the perfect room for the baby, I thought it was pretty clear that we meant this baby.
The brands that are a big part of life are also a big part of us. We have created and produced live events for some of the world's biggest brands. Proscenium, we help brands perform.
Trust. These big brands took a shot on a New York-based live events marketing agency to communicate with their most important audiences. Hi, I'm Chuck Santoro, founder and chief creative of Proscenium. They bring innovation to the project and an understanding of the brand, advancing it and infusing it into everything they do because it's imperative to our success. Listening is so important. But when you're dealing with a live event, there's so many voices in your head at a given moment. And to be able to listen to that, synthesize it, and optimize the output is a gift and a talent. And not every production company can do that. You have creativity, flexibility, and dedication that stand out. And you have been all in from the start. And the wow moments, they're really wow. You can juggle a million small logistical details and offer smart, thoughtful counsel to our most senior level executives. You understood our company culture from the beginning and are a true partner in every sense of the word. Sometimes it's hard for large companies to make a change when things are going well. It took courage for our team to move our business to Proscenium, but your team earned our trust and then earned our business. And you guys delivered. Plus, I think we had a lot of fun last week in Vegas. Well, most of the time. LOL. So what I just read is a mixture of quotes from a lot of our current clients. And I have to say, we're really proud of that. Proud of the brands that we get to partner with, and proud of what our clients have said about us. We're also proud to have made Event Marketer's IT List every single year since we opened our doors, because people believed in us and what we're all about. Special shout out to Dan, who called that first week and said, "You guys did what?" Thanks, Dan. Thanks for the support. We're also very glad to have won a few X awards over the years, and we hope to continue to do so. And if you want to hear more about a program that was nominated last night and actually won the silver for Best Production of a B2B Event, tomorrow at 11:45, you can hear more about our Harley-Davidson product launch that happened a few months back in Boston, and how our event helped increase sales and infuse cutting-edge technology with some very cool, authentic content. And we're going to be giving away a Harley-Davidson motorcycle. So you're going to want to be there. It's right here. Check it out, win a motorcycle. Okay, enough about proscenium. I think a little birdie is telling me it's time to introduce our keynote speaker. So I was going to try to introduce her in 140 characters or less, but you know, I checked out her resume and what she's done with her career up to this point, and I'm like, well, that's not going to happen. So she started her professional career launching Bette Midler's New York Restoration Project, and later she helped earn 3 Emmy Awards for Outstanding Variety Musical or Comedy Series with The Late Show with David Letterman. After 4 years on network television, Helen joined Toys R Us. There, she opened the international flagship store in Times Square and expanded her role to special events for the full Toys R Us brand in over 400 locations. Then, she returned to her network television roots, serving as Director of Marketing and Special Events for MTV Network's Logo channel, working with everyone from Katy Perry to the cast of RuPaul's Drag Race. And eventually, she became VP of Event Marketing for Nickelodeon, working with everyone from SpongeBob to Dora. So quite a group that Helen's gotten to work with. She was the owner and lead producer for JCCM Productions, offering expertise in special events production, branding initiatives, integrated marketing programs, talent relations, and sponsorship fulfillment. She is an arts, culture, and theater junkie who thinks that Oscar season is the best of the 4 seasons. Please help me welcome to the stage Head of Global Events for Twitter, Helen Stoddard.
Hi, guys. I know, they told us not to hug because we'd screw up the microphone, so we settled on a high five. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for coming out. I know the lunch was really the attraction, but I'm glad that I'm here, too. I want to thank Dan Hanover for the invitation to speak today, and also issue a warning for the room. If he calls you up and says he's going to have a few friends over for lunch, and he'd like you to swing by and say a few things, you might want to ask a few more questions before you say yes. But regardless, I'm here. I'm excited to be here and chatting with you guys today. So if you read my Twitter bio, which can be found at my Twitter handle, it says 3 things. The first thing it says is that I'm an arts and culture addict. Absolutely true. The second thing it says is that I am a recovering Utahn. Also true. That's where I grew up. And the third thing it says is that I'm the head of global events. Proudly also true. I had a really idyllic childhood growing up. It was a very safe suburban community. And let me just say, I was a precocious child. I'm going to own it. I didn't have a lot to do. I was kind of bored. Found myself creating a lot of schemes, a lot of activities, things keeping my friends active and engaged. I got in a little trouble now and then. I would say that I was a natural storyteller very early on. My mom would say I was a liar, liar, panties aflame. I would say that I was a very talented and persuasive marketer at a very young age. My teachers on the report card would say I was often the ringleader for the trouble in class. But don't worry, after 6 years when I couldn't fit into the sweater anymore, what you don't see in the 6th grade photo is the sleeves are at my elbows. It was just in time for glamour shots to hit the malls of America. And come on, 16 years old, who doesn't want to look like a middle-aged woman? But clearly the practice served me well, and really excited and honored when Event Marketer called so I could put my stylish poses into great use on the cover of the magazine. Well, what can I say? I grew up, got in a lot of trouble, stayed out of a little trouble, but got to college and wasn't quite sure what I wanted to do with myself, or really what I was qualified or able to do. And after my first freshman year in college, my uncle, who is a fashion designer in New York, invited me to come out for the summer. But the caveat was I had to get a job. I had to do something. He wasn't going to just let me run around New York all by myself with no supervision and no plan for 5 months. I'm so glad he was an adult and I wasn't, because that was my plan, was to create a lot of trouble. And I found myself very lucky after a series of fortunate events to be the intern for Wenner Media's promotion department, which Wenner Media was Rolling Stone Magazine, Us Magazine, and Men's Journal. I got to be an event planner. More specifically, I got to run copies and deliver memos and lift boxes for the event planners, but I was really excited to be there. I'd never seen anything like it. Here were these amazing opportunities, parties, events, engagements that I got to participate in and support. And when you're 19 and you're from Orem, Utah, and you're hanging out with Biggie Smalls and Weezer and some unknown comic named Jon Stewart who's like driving you nuts because all he wants you to do is go get more cigarettes, you're like, well, all right, I guess I could do this. This is a job. I can make this happen. And I was hooked. I was hooked. So I finished school, moved to New York, and was excited to become an event planner. Did that for a few years, really had a lot of fun, but over time realized that it was very executional. It was all about load-ins and load-outs, checklists and tasks, making sure the right things got to the right places. I started to get bored. As you can see, I get bored a little easily. And over time, I realized that I could go from a more generalist position as an event planner to a more specialist position, an event marketer. This is perfect for me. I would like to convince other people to be excited about the things that I am excited about. And I'd like to gain a whole new skill set and a whole new set of tools that will let me do that. It wasn't just about the load in and load out. Suddenly it was about the connection, the message, the story. Man, I took it and ran with it. And that's what's exciting about everyone here in the room. We're trusted with these amazing and iconic brands, right? People I've met, Harley Davidson, Ford, HP, IBM, Twitter. Incredible opportunity and incredible responsibility. We have logos, we have brand marks, we have color palettes, we even have personality charts. Twitter, human, bold, electric. It's a pretty fun personality, and I'd like to think I'm a little bit the same. Thanks. My own team is laughing because they know how sadly true it is. So I take that very seriously, and I'm pretty excited about the work I do. I had the chance to go to South by Southwest for the first time this year. I'd been to Austin before, it's a great town, but had never been to the conference before. So first night, I'm like thrilled. I'm like, this is great. This is like the literal Super Bowl of experiential marketing. And the first event I went to was this. It was a cocktail party, and in the corner, someone had set up a whole bunch of VR headsets and a floating logo on a screen. And I was like, really? I came to South by for this? I wasn't sure what was happening. I was a little scared by the fact that these guys were just bumping into each other for no apparent reason. And that wasn't very exciting to me. And not to diss anyone that was involved in this, but that seemed to be coming from a point of an event planner. Here's the things I need to accomplish. Here's a checklist I need to do. Somebody had a great idea. Let's throw a VR headset in the room. Done. This wasn't connecting. They were literally not connecting to each other, and certainly not connecting to anyone else in the experience. That's not exciting to me. But this is. This is exciting. This is engaging. How do I take our brand, how do I take our message, right now that's with Twitter, and turn it into something really engaging, connecting to an audience in a real and different way? So let's dive into that a little bit here in the room. As I thought more and more about what I talk about today, it really became apparent that there's a couple key elements to finding success in the work we do. First is a great story, and second is a great experience. And that's our responsibility. That's sort of the challenge I put to all of you, and a reminder that you are where story meets experience. And when those things come together, you'll find success. Ad Age ran a great article in September of 2016. It was talking about experiential was the heart of branding. And if we had time today, I would read the whole article to you. We don't, lucky for you. So I will tweet it out later if you want to take a look. But one of the things that really stuck out as I was reading through was this. Without creating a human connection between the brand and a consumer, there is nothing more than a notch on the belt in the form of meaningless engagement. Think about that. All the time, all the effort, all the energy, all the money that you put into what you're doing, does it matter? Does it resonate? Is that connection happening? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Here's the chance for us to really redefine that for all of us. So that's what Event Marketer asked me to do and talk about today, was sort of defining what I believed was the definition of success in event marketing. And so thinking about it, and doing the work, as I mentioned, it came down to two very specific things for me. First, telling a good story. You know, blame the 9-year-old Helen for that. I was always a really good storyteller. Got me in a lot of trouble, but I was pretty good at it. The second, having a good experience. Now, one without the other leaves half the success on the table. A real, genuine, and true successful experiential engagement has both. We tell a good story, and we have a good experience. So let's talk about storytelling a little bit. One of the first things that I like to do in any programs that I'm working on, before we get into any of the details, is define what the narrative is. What's the message? What do I hope that the attendees understand, learn, hear, connect with? And it's really important that we work through that process in a systemic way. So the first thing we do is we set our goals. This is the why. Why are we doing this? And the answer isn't we have extra money in Q3 that we need to spend before we lose our budgets. That's not the answer. And I think we've all been in that position. That's a reason, but that's not the why. Once we set that, then we look at the strategy. So what are we going to do? What are we going to do to sort of share that message and convey the engagement? And then we get into the tactics. Then we get into the what. What are we going to do? A lot of times I've been in meetings and I sometimes get the nickname of Dream Killer because people come in with lots of really exciting tactics, things they want to do, stuff that they've seen other places, and they want to do them, but it doesn't really ladder up to anything. It doesn't really make sense to our goal or our strategy. It's just sort of something fun to do. So again, if we start with what, or if we start with why, then we go to what, we can focus on how. And in that order, we're guaranteed a much better cohesive narrative and connection. The other thing we always have to remember is sort of just the basics of storytelling. Inc. magazine, another great article, sort of went into some more details. Happy to share that as well. But 4 really important things. Keep it simple. Figure out what it is. Keep it clear, keep it simple. Share it as such. Work for an emotional connection. Make sure that there's something surprising, delightful, joyful, engaging in what you're trying to accomplish. Hopefully nothing disappointing or sad, also emotions that sometimes happen, especially at outdoor events when it rains. But keep it simple. Tap into the emotional side of the storytelling. The next part, be truthful. If you don't believe it, how in the world are they going to believe it? So tell your truth. Own it, believe it, share it, and do it with conviction so that they engage and believe you too. And then finally, keep it real. The only way they're going to relate is if it's something that connects with them. Know your audience, engage them how and where they are, and certainly keep it real. So just things I like to remember in general as we're reviewing opportunities and where we go next. So then we get into the experience part of it, right? So there's the storytelling, then there's the experience part. And as Chuck mentioned before, I was really lucky to come on board at Toys R Us when they opened their international flagship store. Toys R Us Times Square, the center of the toy universe, TM. We had to say all of that anytime we described the store. It was very exhausting. But it was a magical, magical place. It was created to be a unique, one-of-a-kind retail environment that was more experiential than retail. And at 110,000 square feet, 4 floors, in the middle of Times Square, one of the most populated, busy thoroughfares in the world, we had a lot of pressure to make sure that the things we were doing there really, really moved the needle. And my boss at the time set very early on a 3-piece criteria, which today still applies as a filter to everything that I review and the way I look at the experiences we're going to engage in. The first thing that she drove home all the time was that the experience needed to be unique. At the time, it needed to be unique to Toys R Us Times Square, not unique to Toys R Us. We didn't want an event that you could just take to a store in another city and throw up in the parking lot. It needed to be unique to the greatest, biggest, craziest toy store in the entire world, Toys R Us Times Square. Plus, we wanted it to show our personality off. Again, did it fit? Did it make sense? Was it about the spirit and energy of that store? So it needed to be unique to you. If a competitor can do it, then it's not unique to you. Just think about that. If someone else can pick up your event and take it and do it in their parking lot, well, you haven't told your story. You've told a story, but you haven't told your story. So you need to hone in and focus on that. The second thing that was really important was amplification. We launched that store in 2001. That was before all of the things with the technology and the social, and people were like clipping phones to their belts and stuff. It was like really crazy time. But we needed to do two things with the amplification. First, we wanted to make sure we were getting credit. It wasn't about Bill Gates selling the first Xbox at midnight. It was about Bill Gates selling the first Xbox at midnight at Toys R Us Times Square, the center of the toy universe. And that was a message that we worked with the press to get out. It wasn't that Beyonce and Destiny's Child had a brand new toy doll line that they were meeting guests and greeting them and signing autographs. It was that that happened at Toys R Us Times Square, the center of the toy universe. Again, it wasn't that we were a store that had a promotion the night that Halo premiered. It was Halo launched at Toys R Us Times Square at midnight, creating the biggest buzz in the video game industry. We had to get credit. We had to see that amplification. We wanted to make sure that the folks inside the room were telling everyone they knew outside of the room. Now it's a little easier with social media. Again, there's an instantaneous connection, and there's an amplification that happens organically and driven, which is really exciting. But at the time, that was really clear to us that the amplification was critical. And then the last thing was a call to action. We were a retail store. We needed to sell things. We weren't there just to have parties. We were there to create meaningful engagements that sold the things we stocked in the store. That's how we kept the doors open. That's how we kept the lights on. We sold things. It was a really easy and specific metric. Talk about ROI. At the end of the event, how many of the Xboxes did you sell? How many of the Wiis did you sell? How many Hulk Hogan WWE wrestling figures did you sell? So it was pretty simple. But a lot of times I go to events, people don't ask me to do anything. So I enjoy their food, I enjoy their drink, I talk to my friends, I hang out, and then I leave. Because you didn't ask me to do anything. Ask me to do something, ask me to participate, ask me to engage. Make sure that there's a call to action to what you do. So let's talk about Twitter. Before I go any further, I have to say how excited I am that my whole team is here. Yay, go team! I only joined Twitter at the end of last year, and for me, it was a huge professional change, which I was so excited about, and the team has welcomed me with incredible open arms, and their brilliance and their creativity and their talent is overwhelming. Not to mention they're all just really nice people, which makes a really big difference. So I have to say thank you to all of you guys for letting me into your world. And I also just have to acknowledge and thank them for letting me present their work here. Anybody that gets up and says "I" in a presentation like this, you should stop listening to them and walk out immediately, because we all know it takes teams and teams of people to pull things like this together between our vendors, our partners, and our folks in-house. So, round of applause for you guys and specifically for my team, because I am lucky to be part of that team. So let's talk about Twitter. Before I arrived, Twitter was undergoing some transition and change and trying to figure out some things for themselves. In the marketplace, there were some questions to be answered, and some fantastic new leadership came in with our CEO, Jack Dorsey, coming back, Leslie Berland, our new CMO, and some really amazing work started. The first thing that they did is they sort of figured out what Twitter was in the new time period. And after asking a lot of questions and doing a lot of work, the answer came back that Twitter is the fastest and highest quality news and information platform in the marketplace. It wasn't about being social media, it wasn't about putting photos of your baby up or having grandma connect. It was about fast conversation about the topics you wanted whenever you wanted. It was the first thing you could read When you woke up, it was the last thing you could read before you went to bed, and you knew what was happening in the world. Which led to the second sort of big pivot, especially on the marketing side, defining for ourselves that Twitter is the first place people to go to see and talk about what's happening. That was an amazing turning point for us. We had a great story as a company. We had a great message to share. We knew who we were, what we were about, and it has really launched an exciting time. So the creative team took about pulling together an amazing out-of-home campaign. New images, new engagements, owning the hashtag again, which started on our platform, and now we all use ubiquitously lots of places. And more specifically, we started telling the world our message, our position, who we were. Twitter's what's happening. Very exciting, very exciting. And so this out-of-home work started to kind of roll throughout the industry and then into the mainstream. Ads were placed. Really beautiful work, really exciting sort of pop-ups. And we started to get a lot of traction as people started to understand a little bit more what was happening at Twitter. So we were so excited as a team to get a hold of this. Now it was our turn. How do we create experience using this exciting new work? So let's talk about CES. A few specific things to accomplish at CES. For us, this is one of the biggest points of the year for our teams, especially our sales groups, to meet and greet and engage with a myriad of audiences. So we needed to create a formal and informal meeting space that allowed over 250 meetings to take place over a 3- and 4-day period. Not to mention, we just wanted to have like a really kick-ass party so everybody could have a lot of fun. And CES After Dark has sort of become legendary now. This year, Rick Ross, believe it or not, who is like my new best friend. Really, I don't know. We love each other. But Rick Ross was our headliner, was very impressive, gave a ridiculously amazing show, and afterwards I think everybody went out and bought pink Lamborghinis. But Twitter Commons, which was sort of the name of our meeting space, had a few different key elements. First, very structured meeting spaces, built in different sizes to accommodate different presentations and discussions. A lot of great informal meeting spaces so that you could just catch people on the fly, sit down, hang out. We also made sure that we had a kick-ass coffee shop so that you could fuel up while you're also recharging. And our swag program was pretty off the hook, I have to say. We, at Twitter, always think about the suitcase test. When you go to a convention and receive many things, and then you go to pack up at the end of the trip and you can't fit it all in your suitcase, what gets left in the hotel room and what makes it in the bag. We also know after CES, a lot of folks come home to their kids. So we actually developed some toys and fun items so that you could pick what you wanted, what was interesting to you, and take it home. So a lot of fun, plus, really good to look at. Christine Yap was the lead producer on that event, and NA Collective, who you guys might have heard from earlier, were the agency on that. Then we went to Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. Similar needs, a couple of different locations. We had a meeting space downtown that we created, again, a formal and informal space for our folks to hold and conduct the discussions that they needed to. We also had a networking garden at the FIRA. It was the largest networking garden in 5 days. 35,000 people made their way through it, which was an incredible opportunity for us. And again, really great party at the MACBA. DJ Mick spinning the tunes, lasers, who doesn't like lasers? But my favorite, of course, was our donut wall. My team knows that I'm obsessed and love donuts, and Nicole and Sam, who are the lead producers on the event, had ordered them from the caterer. When we tasted them, they were not as good as I had hoped, but they looked really great. And so instantaneously, a pivot was made to create a giant peg wall filled with donuts. And I don't have it here, but it became one of the biggest photo ops of the night, was the giant donut wall. So turned a mildly negative into an amazing positive. Wonderland was the agency we worked with there from the UK. And again, Nicole and Sam were our producers on that. So from there, very tiredly, because it was like the next week, we went to South by Southwest. And this was a really, really great engagement. I really liked it. It was so much fun. Twitter House. We took over a bar on Rainey Street. And for 5 days, we had various programming throughout, as well as great hospitality, super chill space to hang. And if any of you have been to South by Southwest, you know how hard it is to sort of break through in some of the engagements there. People do really big things. This year it was a giant ox that had like smoke and fire coming out of its nose. But we kind of took a different approach, which was creating a home, literally a house, for people to come check in regularly and hang out and see what was happening. Lots of partnerships throughout the week, including something with Warner Brothers. They had a new movie called The House coming out. The whole point of the movie was it was an underground sort of gambling in a suburban home. We had a great casino night. You got to make your own swag, which was a lot of fun. NVE was our producer here, and Nicole Martinez led the engagement. So all of this together lets us talk about some very specific things that we're trying to accomplish. The first thing we want to do is we want to create really cool, chill spaces. Now, some of that's just practical, right? We want to look cool, want people to come hang out. But when you think about it, in these sort of chaotic environments with lots and lots of things going on, sometimes don't you want to just go somewhere quiet, get a drink, plug in your phone, hang out, talk to your friends? Well, we became that sort of oasis at all these events for people, which was great for us because it meant our audience came back regularly and often, sometimes several times in a day. After a while, they became our friends. They weren't just our partners. They weren't just an audience coming through. They were our friends. That was really good for us. Next thing, we've sort of changed how we're doing product demos. Twitter is a mostly mobile platform. Everybody's got it on their phones, tablets, laptops. Why do something big and abstract and interpretive? Just put the product in their hand. Many people that have sort of not been on the platform for a while needed to see all the really amazing changes that have taken place on Twitter. Again, getting us to the place that we are the fastest and most dynamic news and information platform out there. So we put it in their hands. Periscope 360 was a new product we launched this year. And while we did have the oversized screens just to sort of help others see what was happening, if you walked up, we literally handed you the phone and let you engage in the 360 demo. At CES, we were able to feature one of our DM bots. That's a new product that a lot of companies are using as a customer service platform. We partnered with CES to build that out as the question and answer bot for the conference. So instead of going to an information desk or looking for an FAQ on a separate app that you have to download, you just tweeted the handle, you asked it a question, it answered you back. So we made sure people could touch and see that in their own hand. So no more abstract demos, touch, feel the product. The next thing we focused on was amazing engagements. Two fantastic examples from South by Southwest. Over the course of the programming, we had different partners each day, including Wendy's, ABC, Hulu, Nylon, SoundCloud. SoundCloud programmed the very first day of the music festival at South by. Brought in fantastic bands, really got an amazing audience into Twitter House that would not necessarily have come to see us, but were there to see music, and then they could see our brand. Monday night of South by was the final episode of The Bachelor on ABC. Anybody that's a fan of the show knows that Twitter blows up. There's like Super Bowl tweets, and then there's like The Bachelor tweets. Like people go nuts every week. So partnering with ABC, they brought in Trista and Ryan from previous seasons, Jade from the current season. That's me, mildly uncomfortable, but mostly having a lot of fun. And a very nice touch, right before the actual final rose was awarded on the show, our brand ambassadors walked around and gave everyone a rose because you are all our pick for the final rose. So a lot of fun, and again, a really great night. Very different than the day programming, different audience at night, but everybody coming through Twitter House. So we've really sort of refocused to make sure that the engagement in real life is the star. And last but not least, we're taking these as opportunities for us to tell our story. Have the meetings, have the spaces, have the discussions, have the engagements that allow people to hear directly from us, not from outside sources, not from the press, not from anybody else, but we're telling our own story in our own words to the audience that's coming through, and that's really resonating. So I always get excited when I get to talk about Twitter, because I was a big fan of Twitter before I ever worked at Twitter. As an event marketer and as someone who's looking for amplification in the things that I'm doing, it's always been one of my favorite platforms. Other platforms are a lot more call and response. You post something, you put it out there, you hope someone likes it, and then that's it. Where Twitter, in a real-time conversation, creates a dynamic that's sort of unmatched. In real time, you can send out messages, you can share communications, and you can get feedback right away. Plus, besides the people you're immediately contacting, that grows, that shares as they all continue to spread the message. So I believe truly in the power of the platform. And I really, really see time and time again, when brands connect directly to their audiences on Twitter, that there's an impact that just can't be matched. There's an amazing connection. So I'll just share a personal story that happened. When I was traveling to San Francisco for work, 6-hour flight from New York to San Francisco, we got delayed. I looked down at my iPod and I saw that I had about 8.5 hours of Sarah Bareilles music. Now, my team has heard me relentlessly talk about my fandom for Sarah Bareilles. They know that every event we do, whether it matters or not, I always try and book her, because I just think it would be fun. One day, they'll actually let me do it. But I just sent out sort of a quick note that I was on the plane, 6 hours of travel, an hour of delay, but I've got enough Sarah Bareilles music to listen to her catalog all the way through. Well, I made sure a couple hours in, everybody knows things are going well. Perfect use of the $25 Wi-Fi on the plane was to let everybody know that I was listening to Sarah Bareilles' catalog front to back. Somewhere over in Nevada, I made sure everybody knew I was up to speed. 2015, the new Waitress album. If you're in New York, go see the musical. It's fantastic. Couldn't recommend it more. And that's all fine and good. I went about my trip. So the following day, long day at the office, had to do some shopping for an upcoming event. And so like most of you, I went to Event Nirvana, the Container Store, where everything you could possibly ever need for an event is there in beautiful Technicolor. I love the store. I also believe on a personal level, if my life looked like the Container Store, that, things would be better. So while I was in the Container Store, I'm walking around, Sarah Bareilles music starts playing on the PA, and I was like, all right, I'm into this. This is great. And I just shot a quick text out, just a quick tweet out, because apparently Sarah Bareilles was my soundtrack for the weekend. As I was checking out of the store a couple minutes later, I get a notification on my phone, and I take a look because I'm just curious to see who responded. One of the greatest tweets I have ever received in my entire life. If you know the song, you know this is a lyric from the song. And the Container Store, or whoever brilliantly was manning their handle that day, wrote back in real time with the most perfect response they possibly could. I already love the Container Store, but man, they know me, they love me, they believe in me the same way I believe in them. And that brand connection will never be shaken. They are my people. I love them. So again, it's not about the number of tweets, it's not about the number of retweets, it's about the connection. And the Container Store and I are always now bonded. So again, just going back, I know we are all here to learn, to be the best, to be inspired by the things that we can do better. And I truly believe that success comes in two specific and intricately tied ways: story and experience. I challenge you to continue to make that connection for your brands, for your audiences, for your products, for your clients. One without the other. Storytelling without experiential, that's a book. Experiential without storytelling, that's a cocktail party. You are where story meets experience. Thank you for being part of my experience and letting me tell my story today. Enjoy lunch. Thank you.
Tell the world that we finally got it all right. true to you. Yeah. Will become your
All right, can I get another round of applause for Helen Stoddard? Thank you, Helen. Fantastic job. Next up on the agenda are our 20-minute speed briefings kicking off at 11:45. Have a great afternoon.
I threw a wish in the well. Don't ask me, I'll never tell. I looked at you as it fell, and now you're in my way. I trade my soul for a wish, pennies and dimes for a kiss. I wasn't looking for this, but now you're in my way. Your stare was holding, ripped jeans, skin was showing.